guess it's more like a guttural screaming thing, but how I do the screaming for Eastwood's like a completely different technique, and I honestly didn't even know I could do that. It's like a thing where it's like, don't take your family for granted as they get older, like, and cherish them while you have them still here, Before focusing on being a rock star, learn how to play your instrument first, I think that would be my little lesson.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the KDigitals podcast, where we dive into artists, their origin, their style, and their process. Joining me today is Cole Crutchfield. How you doing, Cole?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Doing good. Just hanging out on a nice chilly day. It's been I'm in San Diego, so it's a little bit it's been cold, but it's starting to get hot again. And San Diego, I like not the heat, but that's just neither here nor there.
Yeah, you guys have a perfect climate there.
It's cool, right?
It's freezing where I'm at. It's like 30 degrees.
Yeah, I like being cold, but then there are times where it just hurts. So I can't imagine, I grew up in California my whole life, so I'm a wimp when it comes to that. But how do you survive in the cold out there?
You just don't go outside. It's kind of depressing, but you just can't go outside. I go outside to check my mail or get to my car, but I'm running to the mail or my car to get out of the cold as soon as possible. I'm not a fan of the cold at all, but it's always something you got to deal with living here.
Yeah, so you're not one of those people that there's times that whenever I am in the snow, there's always those dudes that are just wearing short shorts and sandals and just are tough guy about it, and it's nah, that I'm putting on sweatpants. I can't do it.
No, not really. I'm not a big fan of the cold, honestly. A lot of people like it, but I'd rather be in a more North Carolina or not North Carolina, but California type climate for sure.
Yeah, no, ditto to that. Cool, man. Well, hey, Cole, curious to know. So when I kick off your podcast, I always ask the guests kind of define themselves as an artist, right? And it's because sometimes people do multiple things. So, for example, you play guitar, but you also sing. You do bands. I'm sure you do more. How do you kind of define yourself?
I guess in the music realm, I'm just more of a musician, just because I do a little bit of everything for my bands. I'm the prime songwriter, and I play guitar and sing. So I guess I just call myself a musician.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's a nice general term to envelop all of it.
Yeah, definitely, right? Because it's one of the things where they're say because you do so much, it's oh, I'm just a guitarist, but it's well, there's more to music than just playing guitar, right? And I feel you.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, man. Well,
yeah.
So the way I feel I really came across you was through Eastwood. You guys make good music. I generally like your guys' music.
Thank you. Thank you, man.
How do you define your sound though? If you were to explain, we're this kind of band, right? How would you portray it?
Yeah, Eastwood's a hard band to pinpoint. A lot of people have a hard time describing what genre we are, because we do have a lot of different influences, from indie rock to pop punk to alt rock, but I just call it rock because I think rock just kind of generalizes all of it and kind of just covers all the bases there. Yeah.
One thing I was really curious is because if people know you, right, they know you do and have done other stuff, especially on the heavy side. So we'll say Torture Tune, for example, which if you go to the reels on or the videos on the Eastwood Instagram and then go to the Torture Tune, they're not the same, right? And then you have Cannibal Corpse in the background. You have Bolt Thrower t-shirts. How do you be such a heavy person? Right? And so how do you have such that heavy background? And then you do something very vulnerable, like Fairweather Friends.
Yeah, I think I'm just a fan of music. I wouldn't call myself a metalhead or a pop punk fan or something. I just like music in general. I mean, when I was raised on the first bands that I got into were anything from Metallica to John Mayer or anything. So I've always liked the softer stuff and also the heavier stuff. And I love metal and guitar and stuff like that, Slayer and stuff. So I kind of went down the rabbit hole of metal, then got into black metal and death metal. And I do really enjoy playing that stuff and writing that stuff, but I enjoy playing the indie rock and pop punk stuff just as much. And I listen to, nowadays I probably listen to country and stuff like that more than anything else. But, I listen to death metal as much as I listen to, Leonard Skinner or band like Microwave or something. You know, I'm just kind of a fan of all music in general.
Yeah. So I guess I want to pick up the studios like Metallica, right? One of the earliest bands you got started with. Did you start? Were you someone that's got into music because of the music, or you got into it because of like playing instruments and guitar? Like how did you get started with music? Like playing.
Well, at first it's because it's kind of funny. Like how I got to music was kind of just going through my dad's iTunes library as a kid. So like the heaviest thing he had to me was Metallica and AC/DC, but then he also had stuff like Nickelback and like Linkin Park. So I listened to all of that and I loved all of it. But definitely, yeah, when I first started playing, like when I first started getting serious about guitar, Metallica was one of the bands where I wanted to learn all their stuff. And like Enter Sandman was probably one of the first riffs I learned how to play, just because they're such a riff heavy band. Like when you listen to them, you hear the guitars. Like the first thing you hear is the guitars. So like as a guitar player and being a fan of metal as a kid, they were definitely a big influence on my guitar playing when I first started, for sure.
So when you go from playing, you know, it's kind of like the more deeper or the more deeper sound of Torture Tomb, right? More the riffage and just like the whole like all those, to playing like a chord kind of guitar on Eastwood. Like, do you feel like when you go to Eastwood, like, I guess what I'm trying to say, like, do you feel you get bored because it's a slower thing, or do you feel like it's just a different type of guitar? Like, what's your view on?
Not at all. It's totally different. I have to be in completely different moods to write anything, because the Eastwood stuff's lighter, but I wouldn't say it's like more boring to play. A lot of it's honestly more intricate and harder to play than some of the Torture Tomb stuff. Like even though the Torture Tomb stuff's very heavy, it's just like just heavy distorted, but a lot of the riffs are just very basic and kind of just chugging. But then a lot of the Eastwood stuff, like especially the leads, can get pretty intricate and hard. So. And honestly, like playing Eastwood stuff is really hard because I'm the singer and guitar player. Yeah. So I'm doing the guitar solos and then going straight from a guitar solo with 3 pedals on, like straight into a clean part where I have to sing and then press off like 3 pedals and like tap dancing and also sing at the same time. So yeah, whenever I play Eastwood, I'm like completely engaged, like the whole set. I'm just 100% like focused. Like I can't think about anything else or else I'll mess up or hit a wrong note or sing. I have to make sure I'm singing in pitch too. And for Torture Tomb Live, I'm just the vocalist, the front man, even though I write all the music. Well, I write pretty much half of it, me and the other guitar player do, but I'm only singing. So I'm only focused on kind of just like quote unquote like looking cool, but just screaming, because it does have a little bit of technique, but it is definitely easier than singing. I would say that.
How because even in Eastwood, like it's almost like you're yelling, right? And so I only know how to play guitar, right? So when it came to the vocals, like how do you whether it's for both bands, like how do you take care of your voice? Like how do you not hurt it?
Well, yeah, people always say like you should do a Torture Tomb Eastwood show, but the Torture Tomb set would have to be after the Eastwood set, because the way I do vocals for Torture Tomb is a little more not technically right. I guess it's more like a guttural screaming thing. But how I do the screaming for Eastwood's like a completely different technique, and I honestly didn't even know I could do that until we were recording our record, because there's this one part on the song called $2 Hams that has a chorus where the notes are just above my register. Like I can't, like I could kind of hit the notes falsetto, but I couldn't hit the notes in the studio. So I was just kind of like screaming it, and then like that scream kind of came out, and I was like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. So I kept on trying it, and then yeah, it's just like it's like a different thing. Like honestly, it's kind of hard to describe, but when I'm doing the yelling stuff in Eastwood, it's like I feel like I'm going like over my vocal cords, but when I'm doing the Torture Tomb stuff, I'm like going like under it. I don't know like what the technique would be called. Yeah, technically, I think they call like the other scream like fry screaming or whatever, but it's really loud. It's not like the whisper screaming stuff that some metalcore bands do, but I didn't even know I could do that until we did the record. But it's just like a completely different style, and it's that doesn't hurt my voice as much as the Torture Tomb stuff does, for sure.
I can imagine. Yeah, it's like it's gonna be hard to imitate if I don't know what I'm doing in the car. I'm just like driving. It's like, oh, I'm gonna cough up blood in a few seconds.
Yeah, no, there is a technique to it because as a kid, I always wanted to like get like the screams down, like all like the old metalcore band stuff, and I could never do it. But then I just randomly found out how to do it on accident when we were recording. So it's kind of funny how that happened.
So that was one of my questions. Is like, like I feel like learning guitar is straightforward, but like, how do you learn vocals, right? Like, how do you? I feel like when I try to hit a note, I'm like in a box, right? So it's like I'm always curious, like, how do
Yeah.
you learn how to sing, especially like in those styles?
Yeah, I think singing I think is like half natural but half technique because people definitely have a certain range that they can go into, but you can be coached. There's a lot of like breathwork stuff. I've never been like professionally vocally coached or anything, just from like watching YouTube videos and stuff. But
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be the one to like coach on vocal style. But there definitely, yeah, if you want to do like the screaming thing, there definitely is a technique to that. And I don't even know how to describe it other than just like going over your singing register, and it kind of just automatically happens for me. I guess other people would be able to like trigger that kind of scream differently. But
can you like do like Agent Steel singing?
I'm not familiar with that. Is that
like early power metal, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
it's
okay,
like
that's what I thought you meant.
yeah, like super like high pitch, but like operatic kind of singing, like that whole like 3 Inches of Blood or
Yeah, I don't think I can do that. My singing voice is more like suited for like the pop punk indie stuff. I can't do anything like super powerful. It's kind of just I have like my indie voice and then the scream. There's not really anything in between. Like I don't know. I listen to like Van Halen sometimes and listen to like some of the stuff that David Lee Roth does, like the squeals and stuff. And I literally have no idea how he does that. Like there's got to be a certain technique to like hitting those like super high pitched like squeal things he does. I don't know how he does that.
yeah. So with that said then, so like when you are writing for Eastwood, like how do you write, because you're not just putting lyrics together, you're putting like melody and rhythm. We're like in metal, right? You could just kind of like guttural it. But it feels like there's a lot more you gotta worry about. Like how do you write like Fine, for example, like Fine's really like this soft intro kind of thing, and then all of a sudden you start singing. It's like how do you do that?
Like come up with like vocal ideas and stuff, you mean?
Yeah.
Some of it, sometimes like the vocal ideas will just come to me when I listen to the song, because I always write music first and then do like a melody and then lyrics. So sometimes like I'll just be listening to the demo and like kind of like humming it out, and then something will come to me, like how the false start thing came out. I just like heard like that kind of cadence and something that kind of rhymed with that thing, and then I was like, oh, false start, that could be a cool like idea. Like sometimes it just comes to me like that, like just out of nowhere. I don't like sit down and try to come up with something, but it's like it depends on like what I'm listening to too. If I'm listening to a band that has like, whenever I was writing vocals for False Start and Fine and stuff like that, it's more sporadic vocals. I was listening to a lot of Deer in the Headlights, and they have very like, their vocalist is very theatric and has a lot of mixes with falsetto and does has like a huge range that he sings. He doesn't just sing like two notes. So I was kind of influenced like that, and I kind of wanted to do like the more theatrical vocals. So yeah, a lot of it has to do just like what most of it just like it just comes to me in my head when I'm listening to the instrumental demos. So it's kind of weird.
So False Start, you just kind of came up with on the spot, like vocal-wise? Like kind of just happened?
Yeah. I was just like, I was listening to the riff and I was like, I don't know. It's like the melody just kind of came to me. That's usually how I write all the melodies. I'll just kind of just like hum out some random words that don't mean anything, and then come up with a melody, and then I'll write words for the melody that I came up with as I'm just like jamming out to the song in my car or something.
Yeah, that's cool. False Start's how I found you guys, right? That's the first song I heard. But that's a good, like I feel like I'm like not just saying for the radio, like you guys write good music, right? Like I can imagine that, like,
thank you.
On the, it's gonna sound funny, but I generally imagine that as like a radio song, right? Especially like in the age of Spotify.
Yeah,
I feel like it has that kind of, I don't know, like in a good way. Like, oh, you should totally like have that.
Yeah, I think it could be radio friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should have like some of our songs. I think we should have like an 808 version with like the fake drums, so it's like radio friendly Eastwood songs, and then like rock Eastwood.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
like,
kidding.
From a marketing standpoint, they're like low key. Like, if you wanted to play that game, right? Here's how you can. But that's
yeah.
So one thing I was curious about, kind of hard left. So this is me probably just be
Mm.
like trying to see something that might not be there. Is
Mm.
Blood of Jesus, is that more about, I feel like my interpretation of that song is less about like religious and more about like being a metal person that does like stuff that's not metal. I don't know if it's just like,
Yeah. Well, the lyrics are about, because I grew up in a Christian household, and I was kind of just like a Orthodox Christian my whole life. And when I was in high school, I started like researching other things and came across, alternative history that kind of that contradicted what I was taught, and I kind of just went down the rabbit hole and left the religion and stuff. So I mean, that song isn't really an attack on religion or like trying to be edgy or anything. It's just kind of like me announcing my divorce from religion and Christianity, because I've been known as a Christian person a lot of my life until high school. I was just kind of like me announcing like I'm free from Christianity and all this stuff. And like the verses are kind of like tongue in cheek, kind of just like not really making fun, but kind of just like pointing out some of the fallacies in like Christian philosophy and stuff in like a very juvenile way. But yeah, but the music video is supposed to be exactly what you said. And usually I have to explain it to people. It's kind of cool that you picked that up automatically. But yeah, it's supposed to just be like making fun of like metalheads who are just like, oh, I only listen to metal and stuff and only wear death metal shirts. Like the whole thing was like, oh, we're all posers. Like we all listen to everything. And like we all pull the shirts off the end and we're all wearing the Eastwood shirts under our death metal stuff. So it's just kind of like, don't take yourself too seriously. But the music video doesn't really have anything to do with the song lyrics. So it was just kind of like a funny idea we came up with.
And that's what, like, so my questions is like to ask you about like the lyrics, because it feels like they said like you're just having a respectful conversation with that song, right? And it feels like all your, at least for all the songs I've heard, it's just like it feels like they're all sad songs, but they're like in a very like, but I'm healing from it, right? And so I come to peace with it. It's like, oh shit, man, that's cool. Like you don't hear that. It's usually like, I'm mad at you. And it's like, no, you. But again, I'm curious. Like, is that your intent behind it, or am I just trying to like force this meaning and pretend I know stuff?
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's hard for me to write like songs about happy subjects. Usually, when I'm inspired to write, it's from like something from like a passionate subject or something. So yeah, it's like something like Blood of Jesus was just something that I wanted to write about. And that's like another one of those things where I listened to that song and I heard like the "Can you see me?" like that just kind of like came to me, and I kind of came up with something off that. But yeah, that song is more just so me announcing that I'm like done with Christianity. Then there's also songs like Never Age, which is kind of just like a song, like a coming to terms with like your family getting older, and how like whenever you grow up, like you always think like, oh, I'm so old now, like I'm 24. Like I remember being 8 years old last week. Then you don't remember that like, oh, your parents have grown that much older too. Then you kind of look at them and see like the gray in their hair and stuff, and you kind of just like forget that your parents are getting older too. So it's kind of just like a thing where it's like, don't take your family for granted as they get older, like, and cherish them while you have them still here,
Yeah. So how do you go from writing that kind of stuff to writing like torture tune stuff?
Torture tune stuff is more tongue in cheek. Like we don't even post the lyrics because they're so stupid. Like it's like it sounds. It's like It's like it's just more so like songs about like. It's more. It's like how I view torture tune. It's like a horror movie, like a snuff film in audio form. So like the lyrics are very. Like horrific, like it's like songs about killing people, or like we have like a couple of songs that are about like like fish killing people and stuff like that. So it's like those are less serious. Like we write songs about killing people, but we don't actually kill people. It's just more of like a like what would fit this song. Like the song that sounds like this heavy and ridiculous should have lyrics that are heavy and ridiculous, but at the same time we don't want it to be like comical. Like we want it to be like just kind of fitting with the style of music that it is. Like
yeah And that's what I think is cool. It's just like that again, you have that side, and then you have your parents are getting old, and that's kind of a big deal when you think about it. You're like, oh shit, man, like
Yeah,
you make me think right now. Like
yeah,
I'm not ready for that, which is not a bad thing too.
Yeah, the Eastwood stuff I definitely take. The lyrics definitely take way more seriously. Yeah, the Torture Tune lyrics are just something we just kind of jot down and make fun of. Like we just try to come up with like the most ridiculous song titles without people getting mad at us. It's like, how far can we take this without somebody being like, "Hey, that's offensive." Like, don't write a song called "Killing to See How It Feels." Like, it's fucked up. It's like,
Yeah. And that's music, right? So what
Yeah.
like with that kind of, that's just music kind of, right? Like, so what is your goal with Eastwood? Is it just music? You're just kind of writing and it's just for fun? You're signed, right? So are you guys trying to
we're signed to Pure
take off
Noise.
with it?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to do something more with it. Right now, it's more so just like a thing that we do for fun, because everyone in the band, including me, has like a, what I like to call like a big boy job, and are in school full time. Like three out of four members of the band, including me, are in school for cybersecurity. And then one of our guys, like two of us have houses, and like one of our guys is married. So it's more so just like something we do for fun on the weekends. Like we're doing a weekend run in March. But right now, like weekend runs are probably the only thing that are going to be feasible for us for a while. Because like we all have jobs and we're all kind of like focused on our careers and stuff. But like if we ended up like blowing up online and started getting like a ton of like followers and listeners and stuff, and people are like, "Oh, come out on tour," and it could be feasible for us to make money on tour, then we could probably do it. But as sad as it is, like we're adults and we have mortgages and stuff, so it's kind of hard for us to just buy a van, hop in a van, and do a 30-day DIY US tour. It's just like I did that stuff when I was like 18, but right now, like we would have to have like a solid fan base, and where we would know that people would come out to our show and make it worth driving 15 hours for a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like in the same boat. And like I've learned a lot of people are, right? Like I think when you're, at least like for you're younger, right? Like you think, oh, this is it. All these artists are doing stuff. It's like a lot of people like, I've got this podcast, I do photography, but it's like, you've heard my kid, right? Like I have a family, like, oh, I can't just go outside and spend my money wherever I want. Now it's like, yeah, you guys have to think about, but you're still doing it, which is cool. It's like, damn, man, like
exactly. Yeah, we're still doing it. Yeah, we play shows on the weekends. Like that's like we love like we practice every single week. We do just get together and hang out. Like everyone in Eastwood is best friends. Like we literally just hang out, and like I literally talk to our drummer like all day, every day. Like he's my best friend. Like we're all just having fun with it. Like, and if people end up liking it, and we end up getting like more followers, and that'd be awesome. Like, and if we got offered a full tour, like we would probably try to make it work depending on what the offer is. But yeah, for now it's definitely just something more for fun until it becomes something more than that.
Yeah. So because of that, at least for you, like because of you have kind of a lot of things on your radar, are there any other like say like musical projects like you're like itching to do right now, and where you're like, no, I'm pretty good with my rhythm, what's going on right now?
Yeah, actually, I don't really have a lot of time right now, but when I'm done with school, my next thing I want to do is like a country band, because over like the past couple of years, I've been really into country. Like that's pretty much all I listen to now, and I love playing like that kind of style of music. And yeah, I would love to do a country project, more like upbeat, like southern rock type country. Like I don't know, like think of like Leonard Skinner mixed with Sturgill Simpson or something like that kind of style, just kind of like shreddy guitar and upbeat. Like something that would be fun. But we'll see. Like me and my bass player talked about doing something like that eventually, but we'll see. Once I get some more time, I'll definitely start working on something like that. So.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you guys are like all best friends and all that. So is that how the band, like how long you guys been around? I feel like I have 2016 in my notes, but have you been around longer than that? Like how did that all come together?
We've been a band since 2016. I feel like when our new album came out, it was kind of like a rebranding of Eastwood and like a whole different thing. But the band, we've been doing it since 2016, kind of on and off.
And how do you guys come together? It's just like was it just you, and then you're like, hey, I have an idea, everyone come aboard, or is it just like it's natural?
Yeah, well, I was like in my old band, I was in a band called Knocked Loose, and it was like a heavy hardcore band, and the singer and the drummer and me like wanted to start a band that kind of sounded like Balance Composure and Title Fight and stuff like that. So we did that, and I wrote a few songs for that. And we had one practice, and I could never get them to like come back and practice again. So I hit up my friends Scotty and Devin to just, play the songs with me, and that's how this ended up happening. We just kept doing it and started playing shows and stuff. But I knew Scotty because I've known him since like 8th grade. Like we went to school together. And lived in the same neighborhood, and like I used to hang out with like him and his little brothers like all the time, and we carpooled to school. And then I worked at Pizza Hut in high school for like 4 years, and Scotty knew Devin, our drummer, and then we started working at Pizza Hut. So like we all just like work together. Then our first bass player was like a guy that worked at Pizza Hut with us, and then he ended up going to school. So then we got my other friend from high school, Zach, who's our bass player now, and I've known Zach since literally 6th grade. So yeah, we've all just known each other forever. So, and then we just started playing shows, and yep.
So, like, I feel like it's an obvious question I have to ask is like, so when you guys are together, do you guys ever want to get Pizza Hut again, or is it like, nah, we've had it too much, like never again?
Oh, dude, yeah, dude. Our tradition is we eat like a frozen pizza and drink every single weekend. Like that's our thing.
That's cool.
It's really funny. It needs to be like that. Like after we recorded our record, because we recorded our album like February 2020, right after I came off of the tour. Like, and after we were done recording and mixing it, we wanted to have like a party. We were like, let's go to pizza and like have some beers and stuff. And then like the next week we're like, oh, you want to do that again? And that's been like, what is it? January 2022. We've been doing it pretty much every single weekend since that. So we we have practice on Friday night. Then they come over to my house and we drink beer and eat pizza and watch like music videos or play video games or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of funny.
That's hella cool, dude. Yeah, it's like if Philly, like the more I talk to you, everything surrounding Eastwood is just like good energy, right? Which is like like a really good thing.
For sure. Yeah, man. We just want to have fun with it, definitely.
So I know we're nearing time, so I want to go ahead and ask you one last question. It's usually whatever guess I always have to do is like being someone. You said you started like in high school, right? All this stuff. Or at least you know when you've been doing it for a long time, you did like Knock Loose and Torture 2 and Eastwood, right? For someone that's trying to get started musically, and not just like if they're trying to get their band to like slowly take off, like what's some advice you can give them, right? Because everyone knows how to play guitar, but like how do people actually like make something happen?
Yeah, I would just say like don't skip steps, like, and definitely just do it for fun. Like don't put any pressure on yourself. Like learn to play guitar first and then focus on getting merch and the stage setup and stage presence. Like get your set down, like learn your instrument and have fun with it. Like don't take it, like don't get frustrated. Like it's sometimes like with social media, it's easy to get frustrated when you see like a band has more followers or monthly listeners than you and goes on tour and stuff. You just gotta like, like don't get discouraged, and just like music's supposed to be for fun. Like, if it's your hobby, then make it your hobby. Like don't turn it into something it's not, and just have fun with it and practice. Cause practicing is people can tell like live if you practice your instrument or not. So definitely get that down before anything else. Before focusing on being a rock star, learn how to play your instrument first, I think that would be my little lesson.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like I was doing the opposite of that when I was younger, which is why I didn't go anywhere, right? Which is funny. They're like, oh,
yeah, well, I think a lot of bands do that now. A lot of bands will have like one song, but they'll have like all this money put in like social media, and like they'll have like a live rig and like all these expensive guitars. It's like you have one song out, like why are you doing that? Like music's about music, not about how many followers you have on your Instagram or how many YouTube plays you get. Like I feel like a lot of people are like kind of using music for something it's not nowadays, and kind of just like cranking out like like, you know what I mean, like stuff that's like sounds like it was like written in a lab just to be popular. But I feel like what's most important just to keep it authentic and play music because it's fun. It's something that comes out of passion, not something to make money out of. I mean, if you want to play music to make money, then you should probably find something else to do, unless you want to be on tour 10 months a year. So
yeah. That's interesting. It's like making me reflect now. Like, oh, yeah, I was more like in it. I liked music, but I feel like I really was like I play guitar and I would actually like looking myself in the mirror. It's like, sure, but you're still sloppy at guitar, right? It's not the same. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that makes sense now. But anyways, cool, man.
Yeah.
Where can people follow you, learn more about your music and your bands?
I'm not really active on my personal social media, so I'll just plug my bands. On Instagram and Twitter, we are Eastwood KY, and you can find us on Facebook just like looking up Eastwood. And Torture Tomb is Torture Tomb TX on Instagram and Twitter, and then you can just find us by looking up Torture Tomb on Facebook, and that's it. And if you want to follow me on social media, I'm Cole Crutchfield on Instagram, but I don't ever post anything, so you're not going to be very pleasantly surprised or whatever.
For sure. Cool, man. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and let you go. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today on the podcast. And I will see you all later. Bye.